Back in action on this edition of Meet the Leaders from Hartford, and the last day that we're going to be here before the end of the session. However, Senator Rob Kane and company will be here for a lot more time, as a matter of fact, probably the wee small hours of the night. Senator, you have got a lot of proposals on your plate. It invariably comes down to these last couple of days. And is there anything, clearly you are not one of those I know who is not terribly in favor of the budget.
No, I spoke out against the budget for probably a couple hours on Saturday because of all the problems with it. We've increased spending at a time where no one in our state, not any business or any family, has increased spending. We've looked at revenues that really aren't there. There's some gimmicks, if you will, in moving accounts, taking money off general fund expenditures in order to get within the spending cap, the constitutional spending cap. There's new accounting things like revenue intercepts and other items that were never there before. So there's a lot of chicanery, if you will, that's taking place with this budget. And I think someone, whether it be myself or others, need to stand up and say, hold on a second, people are hurting out there, you know. We're not bringing home any more money for our families and our lifestyles. We're paying more at the gas pump and at the grocery store. Things are tough. And, you know, Connecticut is not highly ranked when it comes to friendliness to business and retirees and things like that. So yeah, I've been speaking up loudly because I think it's necessary.
Well, then in the last couple of weeks you saw $450 million evaporate.
Yeah, because their projections don't make sense. You know, they just don't see that people are struggling. If you listen to the other side of the aisle and this governor, he'll tell you things are rosy. You know, I remember he gave his speech on the opening day of session, and I thought they were going to break into the song "Happy Days Are Here Again," but it never surmounted to anything. You know, people are still really struggling. I'm sure your viewers could tell you that if they could. It's not an easy go out there, and let's not pretend that it is. Let's get our fiscal house in order, because I think it's about sustainability.
Well, let's look at some of the positives that come out of this. The DCF is something that you were particularly concerned with, and some good stuff coming from that.
DCF providers are required to have background checks of their employees each and every year. So I'd like to see DCF require background checks of the people who deal with our most vulnerable, which are our children. So I think that's a good issue. I think that's something that makes sense as a common sense approach. Let's protect our kids. I'm also working on a bill in regards to animal abuse and try to protect one of the towns that I represent because they were left with a lot of financial constraints because of an animal abuser, and they have kennel fees and veterinary fees, and they've up to like $100,000. So I'm trying to work on things like that. And you know, so we have some smaller issues that are taking place and some bills that are hopefully will go through, but overall I think budget is 1, 2, and 3.
Well, the animal abuse segment doesn't sound like it's a costly endeavor at all. It's just a matter of putting laws in place and implementing them.
Yeah, what happened, one of my towns, and you may have heard the story on the news, there was a gentleman accused of abuse of over 60 dogs. And because the dogs are evidence and the court process that's taking place, they can't adopt them out. And the town has had to hold those dogs and take care of them, and it's been a costly burden for a local community that I represent. So what we'd like to do is change the law so these individuals would have to pay a bond on each and every dog they had. So they'd think they think twice about, hopefully about neglect, but about the ramifications that take place in their business as well. So I think it's a good idea, and then try to protect our citizens as well as the animals that we're talking about.
Sure. Negative response to that?
No, not really. As you know, it's just the process, how bills need to move from one chamber to the other, the amount of negotiation and horse trading that goes on in this building, the amount of politics that take place in this building, and as you said in the onset, it's a tumultuous time right now, getting everything in within the last 3 days, because once that clock hits 12 midnight on Wednesday, it's over. So it's pretty hairy time.
The next 2 days, however, it is limitless.
Yeah, this is the thing where all the negotiating takes place, where a lot of legislation, you'll see people from the House trying to talk to senators and vice versa, because as you know, bills have to go through both chambers. Leaders will get together quite often. And actually, this is where the good part comes, where people see the bipartisanship, because you have to meet, you have to come together in order to get a bill done. So I think that's where you develop some friendships and some allies on both sides of the aisle.
Hope you've gotten some rest before you're coming in today. We appreciate you stopping by. As
I always love to.
Senator Rob Kane, our guest on this edition of Meet the Leaders. Time is ticking. We'll be right back.